Hello, beautiful sunshines. Welcome to Now That's Love.
With your favorite mother-daughter duo, Ashlyn and
Janae LaFleur, where you get to know thyself, love thyself, and become the best version of self.
Because the greatest love story that you are ever going to tell is the one you create with yourself every day. Hi, everyone. Back finally after 2 long months of taking care of a baby and having sleepless nights. I wanted to come and finally say that I'm back and I am excited to be with y'all again. I was going to do just a full podcast about my postpartum experience and just everything that I've gone through. But something came to me that I wanted to share beforehand because I feel like as a society, we're just dealing with it. I was dealing with it with postpartum anxiety and stress and overthinking and just those crazy thoughts that run through your brain. And then, my mom and I, we've talked about that your thoughts are not you. Like the thoughts that you think in your head at times where you look in the mirror and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm fat, I'm ugly, pimple on my face, everyone's going to notice it. Little things like that. And we've talked about certain things to do, but I wanted to make this whole podcast more of maybe just a slight overview for some people, but for some, maybe a light shining on more things that they could do to how to stop that overthinking mind. Because this past 2 months, there have been many intrusive thoughts, and a lot of them did take over for a short while, just with the lack of sleep and the hormones going through my body of them fluctuating and changing and dropping and everything. The change of giving birth to a child is wild, and I had to be very delicate on myself. But the first thing I found very helpful, and this was like the next day after I got out of the hospital that I did, and my brain just did not stop. And I was so exhausted, but I was like, I need to get out. I need to get some sun. So I think one thing, if you're going through a process where your brain is just not stopping, and maybe you're tapping out on social media or shopping or alcohol, anything, whatever your tap out is. For me, it's usually shopping or social media. And there were a few times where I did tap out with shopping, and it's just so much easier getting like that quick dopamine rush of the package being delivered to your door in 2 days or 3 days, or if you got that fast express shipping, it was like that rush. But once it arrives, it's gone, and then you have to keep shopping. Or social media, you need to go to the next thing. But putting your phone down and going for a walk. And it's so much, sometimes it's easier said than done, just for the fact that for me, I have to load the kids in the car and deal with the crying and the diaper changing and snacks and water, just everything that has to cross your mind. Make sure you bring an extra pair of diapers. But going out and going to the park, walking, even just like if you're just going to sit outside, I noticed that beneficial. Even in my baby number 2, like whenever he was colicky and just crying and fussy after I fed him, diaper change, the whole checklist checked off, I went out, even just to my hammock in my backyard, and just swung him in there, and I was able just to calm down my brain. I didn't bring my phone out with me. I just chunked it and said, okay, this is going to be a moment that I'm going to take and just bond with him, breathe within myself, talk to my older son. But going for a walk, and even at times taking off your socks, taking off your shoes, and just being with the ground, touching the plants. Me and my son will go to the park and we'll find like dandelions or just like little random wildflowers, and he'll pick them up and hand them to me. He loves doing that, and connecting with earth, gardening, just little things. And honestly, it doesn't need to be an hour-long thing. Even on your lunch breaks, just going outside, or if you're in school, going outside and eating or doing schoolwork for those 10 to 30 minutes. It just needs to be that time where you get to yourself, 10 minutes just to breathe. I also found very beneficial during this time a brain dump journal, because before I'd fall asleep, I obviously was hearing him grunting in his active sleeping, and it was difficult. And there was times where it was hard for me to get sleep, and I had so many things on my brain of like, I need to do this, I need to make sure I'm keeping up with this in the business, and talking to this friend. Oh, I forgot to message this friend. There's so many things that I was having to process in my brain, and many of us can relate where you're sitting in bed and you're just like, oh crap, I have to do this. Oh, I forgot to write this down. Oh man, this is going to happen tomorrow, or just that overwhelming checklist in your brain. And I found helpful. My mom's brain dump journal is amazing, and all our journals have been great for that. But even just typing it in your phone real quick, dumping out your entire brain so you're able to sleep. Even sometimes I would text my mom and say, we're going to do this tomorrow, and we're going to do this on Wednesday, and kind of blowing up her phone. Me and her have like this back and forth deal where, hey, I'm going to send you a long message, but beforehand I'm going to say, hey, these are just mostly notes for me and for us to do later on. But having that list set in stone, it releases all these thoughts out of your brain and clears it out and helps you stop overthinking. Number 3 that I found helpful is Sat Nam. Now, this is a Kundalini yoga technique, and usually you do it whenever you're welcoming your students in, or you are going to practice in your breathing. This I found truly beneficial to stopping the thoughts in my brain from running, and really being present in the moment. So when I want to be present in the moment, I breathe in with my nose. And in my mind, I don't say it out loud. I mean, you can say it out loud, but usually whenever I'm in bed and I'm not trying to disturb my baby or husband, I say it in my mind. But you say Sat, and then I usually hold it for like maybe 3 seconds, depending on what you really need to slow down with, maybe even 5 seconds. And then breathe out with your nose and say Nam. So you can do it real quick if you want to. You go Sat, Nam. And you just breathe in, Sat, breathe out, Nam. And it means I am truth, or truth is my essence. And how beautiful is that? Just having that full clarity within yourself, and almost kind of having at the same time a mantra go through your mind of truth is me. I am truth. And I feel like that has a really deep meaning in whatever your truth is and your beliefs, and stepping away from that ego side and just understanding that we are all connected, we are all divine, and breathing helps you get through that. And I usually do that before I'm about to go to bed. Even in the morning with my coffee, it helps just to kind of regulate me, because I can become very overstimulated throughout the day with children. And at night, mostly it all just comes bombarding and with me, because I need to slow down my brain. And I mean, even people that are at work, and then I know that many people can relate. You come home from work and you're so exhausted, but you're still thinking about all those tasks you need to do, or the tasks that you did do, or something that somebody said, just everything. And saying Sat Nam can really clear that out, and just it usually puts me to sleep. Try it for bedtime. Have everything quiet. Maybe even have your little white noise or your rain sounds on, and just breathe in Sat Nam. And don't think about anything else. Just say those words, and there's something very beautiful that will happen where I usually just find myself passed out. I'll say it like 3 times and I'm like, I'm going to clear my brain. I'm only going to focus on that saying. I'm out like a light. So it's kind of like counting sheep. Try it and let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I found this, we've talked about this, but touching yourself is so important. And also touch with others. If you have someone that you can feel like you can embrace in a safe place, wonderful. It provides oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. It lowers your heart rate, depression, anxiety, reduces stress, that cortisol. And that I found very important. Just touching, a lot of us are so touch deprived to the point where it's like we have constant anxiety and our thoughts are overthinking, and having that touch takes your brain away from what is going on in your mind And we are living constantly daily stressful lives, and being out of touch is the main problem whenever I'm having that overthinking. And a lot of times I just need that hug or embrace, or just even with my husband, just snuggling. I love it. And it's creating that connection with yourself and with that person if you are trying to be in touch with that person. Even just hugging your friend. With me and my friends, we've talked a couple times where it's like, let's just sit down on the couch and like let's just sit next to each other, like close, not like far away, because I feel like with a lot of your friends you sit far away, but like let's like almost kind of be close to snuggling. And that self-soothes. Even if you don't have anybody, or you don't really know how to really touch yourself, get a weighted blanket. It brings that same rush of emotions. And hugging yourself, weighted blankets and hugging yourself will give you that same rush of calming. And it's a benefiting in adults and in babies. And obviously I've seen it with myself, but just picking up my son and hugging him, even my oldest son as well, but even my littlest one that just needs that constant touch. And I feel like at times I'm so touched out because I've been constantly touched, but touching yourself and just loving yourself when you are touched out is very helpful. And it's asking yourself that question when you are overthinking, what can I do in this very moment to help with the stopping of this overthinking? And I usually give myself that 5-minute rule of doing one of these things, of walking out in nature, grounding, going outside, or brain dumping it into my journal, the Sat Nam, touching, all those things, communicating with others. Hey, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Being with that safe person and saying that, or writing that in your journal, saying that you are overwhelmed and overthinking. Those are both ways to express that out of you. Those have helped me be in the moment and realize that I gave myself those 5 minutes to feel those emotions. It's not like you're burying it underneath. You're feeling it. You're allowing it. Even give yourself 15 minutes if you're very overwhelmed and overthinking. I have been able to do these things, and it has helped the past 2 months. As many moms know, after giving birth, I feel like your mind can be your greatest enemy at times. And oh man, with having my son, it was not nearly as traumatic as the first experience. As many of y'all know, my first experience with my friend passing away on the day of his birth was very traumatic. And being through this makes me even more proud of myself, more empowered with just the fact that I pushed out 2 children in under 6 minutes. This one I pushed out in 4 minutes, but not even just so much the physical strength, but just the mental strength. I looked back and I was like, wow, how did I be able to go through that the first time and accomplish school and get that 4.0, but also take care of a whole human being? Like, this time it was hard. It really was. And I was able to see it from the side. And I also was able to see, no matter what, that time that I didn't get with my first, you're such in like that survival state the first 2 months. Even I would say 3 months is like for me, has always been that jackpot direction and state where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm at the 3-month mark, starting to sleep more. I'm starting to sleep more. We're getting in each other's groove. But the first 2 to 3 months, it's rough. And my thoughts sometimes would get the best of me and I'd have panic attacks. And I would need that touch from my husband. I would need to communicate with him. I would need to go out in nature because of those panic attacks that night before. And I would get like I call it the nighttime scaries before, whenever the sun's going down and he's about to go to sleep. And it's just that overwhelming feeling of, oh my gosh, it's getting dark, and anxiety creeps in. And I don't really know how to handle my emotions during some of those moments. And I really had to do the Sat Nam and breathe and just be mindful of that. This is not me. This is my brain. These are my thoughts, and everything's okay. And I'm grateful for my husband to remind me of those things, because, there was times where I couldn't, and he was able to step in and say, you're doing an amazing job. Be proud of yourself. You are great, and he was my mantra. He was my person that was making me remember the truth within myself, because for a moment I felt like I had a loss of identity of, oh my gosh, I'm a mom of two now. Like, how am I going to be able to do everything when I was a mom of one? And he was so much more self-efficient with two kids. One is needing something already, but then you have a whole nother mouth that is needing to be attached to you, something that is crying when it needs something. And it's been almost 4 years since I've had a baby. And it was just a remembrance and a gratitude for all the things that I went through the first time, but also understanding that no matter what, I'm going to have to go through that postpartum feeling. And if you're going through that right now, I totally sympathize with you. Or if you're just constantly overthinking, I'm here. I understand. That was my brain for the past 2 months. And even sometimes at night, I still need to, like the night before, just last night, I had to do Satnam and breathe and calm down my thoughts. And I was brain dumping to my mom, texting her, like, hey, you're about to be my brain dump journal for a second. Give me like just 10 minutes to write down my entire brain. I've sent it. It's out there. I know I can do it. You have it. But my postpartum experience has been, at this point, I feel much better. But the first 2 months, it was rough, like I said. And I felt very in like this dark where everything was moving around me, but I was staying still. And seeing my friends go out and party or go out and have fun, and I felt like everything was moving so quick. Even the business, my mom was doing things and I wasn't mentally able to do those things because I was so exhausted. And being tired can just really get to your head. And I did write down a few things that I wanted to mention. I actually brain dumped my feelings, and I used to love writing poetry in high school a lot. And I would kind of write a little bit of poems just to connect with myself um, as I was going through the postpartum process. But I wrote down, how am I supposed to explain my feelings when I don't even know myself? I look all right, but I don't feel all right all the time. And I don't know how to explain this, and I feel like no one understands. I don't know how to reach out for help, because what if this feeling is just a lack of sleep, which it was. I am happy and I'm in love with my newborn, but this lack of sleep makes me feel off and in just an existence. I see how big he gets, and it makes me anxious about the time, the lack of it, and the quickness. But yet wanting to be out of this phase. I am figuring me out with two, and it's an overwhelming process wanting to figure life out and who I am. How will I function? What's this new identity that I'm trying to understand? And I wrote down many times that I know this is going to pass, this phase is going to pass. And it's beautiful understanding that now that I wrote all this down, but I also wrote down that these thoughts run deep in the tiresome nights with the baby crying and finding no hope. Maybe they'd be better off without me, feeling disconnected from people around me, feeling just not enough for everyone around me. Did I spend enough time with my oldest? Did I snap at him too much? How is he feeling? The mom guilt of not teaching him or being with him as much. When I am able to fully sleep again, I'll maybe do better. And I wrote down, it's just all such a blur. The fog, a mist. Sometimes people just want to be heard and not given advice or told it'll be okay. Just to be allowed to express their emotions about not being okay with what's happening or what's going on. And I feel like knowing that everything will pass, but the anxiety of that also strengthened that, because I know that time I wasn't going to be able to get back with him. And now I'm like, oh, with the first time, I'm like, no matter what, the time was going to pass so fast, whether I was getting sleep or sad or anything. And reading this, it's like, you look back at sometimes at your journals, and I usually keep mine on my phone because it's right next to me, or I'll grab one of my journals that I've created on with Amazon, which that link is also at Now That's Love on our Instagram. And we've also linked it usually below. But It seeing that no matter what, that stress is there and those thoughts can be there, and that's okay. That's honestly fine. How you're feeling right now, it's okay. We're living, breathing human beings, and there's moments where we lose our job or someone dies or a birth of a child. It's all new to us, and going through that process of feeling how you need to feel. And there was a little bit of that rage in me where I was like, I needed to release it. And I dreamed about releasing these emotions and feeling it out. And I'm really glad that I did journal them down. I talked to my husband too. I cried to him many times. And I'd like to sit here and tell you my postpartum experience was beautiful and wonderful. But no, it was. But at the same time, I had my moments where I was crying in the kitchen because he would not stop crying. And as many of y'all know, that there's something that triggers in a woman's brain when her baby cries, where it's like a fireworks show in her head of just craziness. And that's how I felt. I couldn't calm down. I couldn't calm him down. And I felt out of control. And I'm grateful that I have a supportive partner. And it made me have a lot of gratitude and just the strength of myself with giving birth, going through the pregnancy, everything. I walked in there with 6 centimeters and the doctors were like, holy smokes, like, you're so calm. And they're like, maybe you should be teaching breath work to some of these women that come in here. And I'm like, I do breath work on the side every once in a while. I do follow my mom's meditations. Shout out to my mom for her amazing YouTube meditations. But the nurses were like, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're a whole 6 centimeters dilated. And I was shocked within myself. I remember looking at Jerome and being like, oh my gosh, like I knew I was in pain, but I didn't understand that we were going to have that baby that day. And I feel blessed that he came out healthy and everything. And even though I have that gratitude, it's okay to also feel that sadness about time going by fast or anxiety and your brain overthinking. Remember that we're all human and to be connected to each other. And if you've ever felt any of these emotions, please comment below. I would love to feel connected to somebody that is either going through the postpartum process or has had a death of a friend, or maybe you're stressed out about something right now in life and one of these things you've never thought of, or that you maybe have some tips of what helps your overthinking mind, because these have helped me tremendously, but I know many others have great tips. And maybe you connect to your inner child by drawing or singing or painting. I know many people love cooking just like me, connecting to that. I love teaching my little one. That also helps me feel connected to him and also myself with my teaching degree. And I'm so glad that I am back, everybody. And we have our new Etsy sale up now, 25% off. We're only going to do the whole store 25% off one time a year. So this is your chance to go get all the gear, all the love that we have put into this for you to be able to spread love and kindness as well to the world. We have fun holiday things, amazing tank tops that support Now That's Love, because I love being able to do this and having your support pushes me further. And if you have any friends that might need this video, send it their way. We love all the hearts and likes and follows, but most importantly, we are doing this to benefit the world and help you in your journey. But thank you guys for following along, and I will be giving you guys more details on my postpartum experience and just all the things that I have overcome and worked through and I'm slowly figuring out in future podcasts. But I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.